Well, welcome to this edition of Talk with TAS. I'm your host, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, Dr. TAS. And today I'm so excited to have back with me a phenomenal guest, a phenomenal woman. I'm talking about the one and only Melissa Banks. She's an award-winning event planner. She's let me say that differently. Award-winning master event planner. She's a best-selling author. She's a speaker and brand strategist with over 25 years of experience helping people turn their vision into powerful, unforgettable events. She's also the founder of DMD Events and the visionary behind platforms that empower women to shine. Melissa, welcome back to Talk with Taz.
I'm so excited to be here, Tosh. Thank you for having me and making me sound so important just then. That was good.
Girl, you know you important because you help everybody else to shine. And it takes a person who has a vision and a flair because, you always well put together. Your background is always just on point. So, Melissa, you've built an incredible career as an event planner, as I just stated, author, speaker, and brand strategist. What first inspired you to enter the world of event planning and entrepreneurship?
Thank you for that question because everything started with the event planner. Now, I didn't know I wanted to be an event planner. I had a great job at a local organization, a mobile communications company, was set for life, so I thought, until it wasn't. Over 3,000 people were laid off in a single day. I was one of those people. Didn't know what I was going to do, but God spoke to me and said I would own my own business. I didn't know what that meant, but I found comfort in it in that moment somehow, that I would own my own business. Now, I love decorating and making things beautiful and changing rooms, and that's what I began doing. That all led to the event planning, which allows you to be a part of the entire experience. And I found out that was the gift, that was the reward, was being a part of it all, not just the visual, but all bringing dreams to life. And that's what started everything for me.
Well, you absolutely bring people's dreams to life. I've seen your events, some of the photos, and I've seen the brand strategists in my professor bring artifacts, but really the kits and things like that you bring together. And also your own graphics. I mean, they just tell a story. When I see something online, I know if you did it because there's a different feel to it. So let's talk about the event planning for just a moment more. You're known for creating impactful events. What are some of the biggest mistakes, though, that people make when planning their events? And how can working with a professional planner completely change the outcome?
Well, one of the number one things that people go into events without a clear vision. If you don't have a clear vision as to the type of event you want, that's the look and the feel, the experience the guests have, you have to start with a clear vision or you're going to be chaotic throughout the process. You're going to be stressed because you're making decisions that should have been made at the beginning. The second mistake people make is not having a clear budget when you go in it. Now, we can have big dreams. We can go on Pinterest, we can go on the internet, and we see all these fabulous events. But to be clear about how much money you want to spend on your event, and then having a professional to help you put that money in the right places to bring your vision to life. And that's one of the key things that people do that I feel is two of the biggest mistakes. The third biggest mistake is not knowing the audience experience that you want to create. Do you want them to just have fun? Do you want them to talk about you the whole time? Do you want them to play the whole time? Or do you want them to leave impactful with something to say about your amazing event that they're still talking about it years later? An event planner can help you do that.
Okay. So being an event planner really is almost like a vision architect. And the reason my events sometimes don't turn out the way I want them to do or to be is because I'm focusing on so many things, but a real event planner is at that 90,000 feet level, and they're looking at each slice of it and bringing it all together so that, as you said, my audience leaves and talking years later about, what, that's the best event that I ever been to.
Exactly, exactly.
All right. Now, you also um, connect events with branding. How
Mhm.
can entrepreneurs and organizations use events as a powerful tool to elevate their brand and message?
I did a talk one time, Dr. Toss, about your event and your brand because it's one thing. So when you talk about me, take me for an example. When you talk about me and my brand, you say you recognize it. You recognize my touch when it's on something. When I show up, it is recognized because your brand is your story. Just like your event is your story. It's what you want it to be. It's what that's why the pieces have to fit in place. It has to be a flow. It has to say something about you without you ever opening your mouth. And that's why branding is so important because it's your story. When you don't have to open your mouth to say your story because they see it in how you show up. They see it in how you show up online, how you show up in person. They see it when you're on shows like this. They see it when you show up. And when you know you're doing it right, is people recognize it everywhere. I can be walking through the mall and people recognize it. Don't let me not have on pink
Oh,
because
girl,
not that you have to choose a color. I'm not saying that. But if I don't have on pink, people want to know why.
what's wrong?
Where is it? Because I
Yes.
have taught them without saying it that that's my signature color, that's my power color. People look for it now. That's branding.
Well, let me just say, guys, in all honesty, I did say, well, Melissa gonna have on pink, and I said because I did, because you're right. I know that you're gonna have on pink, and you've taught me that, and it's really powerful, guys, what she's sharing when she's talking about branding. She's taught us because we just automatically see pink, and because we see pink all the time, we know it's Melissa Banks when she's promoting Melissa Banks, because her brand is her story, which her story is Melissa Banks. So, Melissa, you've got a new ebook out called A Perfect Day. What inspired you to write this book, and what can readers expect to gain from it?
I love this question because I'm so excited about a perfect day. Now, a perfect day is for wedding professionals. There are a lot of people who plan weddings, their own wedding, and they're stressed out the whole time. Now, my most perfect advice is you may want to start it, but turn it over to somebody to a pro so that you can enjoy it. But in this book, it's making it make sense so that if you choose to go through the process up to the event day, you're not overwhelmed. In the book, I give tips on how to approach each aspect of the planning of your wedding. But I also give you some tips for yourself, putting you in a place, things like just sitting down and talking with your mate and determining from the beginning the type of event that you guys want to have. I even say choose some words that are your words that describe the event that you're looking for. That way, you're not dreading the wedding planning, you're enjoying the wedding planning. We even advise you to take some pauses in the planning because if you don't step away, and today, honey, we're just going to enjoy each other and we're not talking about the wedding, it becomes heavy instead of fun and enjoyable, which the entire process is supposed to be fun, not just the wedding day. So that's why this book is so exciting to me because it helps you enjoy the process, whether you're working with a professional or doing it yourself.
Well, Melissa, you said something very powerful there. The whole process is supposed to be fun, and that means we've got to be intentional. How can we apply the principles from A Perfect Day to events, to not only events, but maybe those memorable experiences in our lives? Or how do we take those principles and apply it to our brand so that audience walk away with a memorable experience?
Think about your life, Dr. Tosh. You have lots of pieces in your life. And some days, we had a conversation just coming on. Some days, everything seems like so much and so loud that you're just pushing yourself through the day. One of the things we suggest in planning your event is taking a moment. Just taking a moment. You can apply that to your own life. Just take a moment and say, I'm just going to sit here for 15 minutes and all I'm going to do is enjoy this cup of coffee.
Yes.
Yeah. And then when you get up, you can have a new outlook so your life doesn't feel so heavy. The same thing with your events. You don't want the process to feel heavy. You want the
Mm-mm.
process to be enjoyable, but there's a lot of pieces to that process. So if you continue working every piece, every decision, everything on your own, you just walk in a state of frustration, which you also do in your own life. So if things when things get heavy, if you don't take a moment and step out of it, or have someone that you can pass things off to, that's the same thing in your own life.
Well, Melissa, you dropping nuggets because you're right. It's the exact same thing in our own life. And I think that's the curse of it. People think, well, I manage in my personal life. I can do it for my events. But we be sometimes barely hanging on by a fingernail tip. You don't want your event to be like that. And we shouldn't want our lives to be like that also. So the idea of pausing, stepping away for 15 minutes, having a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, whatever, it really does help to regulate and help us to refocus so that when we engage again, we can be more effective. So thank you for sharing that advice for the audience. Now, I just got to talk about this new series you got going on. It's over. It's everywhere now, Melissa. Women Who Shine. Women Who Shine. Now, this is a powerful series. What inspired you to create this platform and what impact has it had on the women who've been participating?
I am so passionate about inspiring women. And anybody who knows me know that that's my passion. I look at my journey and what I've gone through, and I just want other women to shine. I want to inspire other women, empower other women. And a few years ago, we did a small series where we just spotlighted a few women. And it was so inspiring, not only to myself, because hearing these women and talk about their journeys just lifts me up. I mean, each episode we have taped right now have been just so amazing, and it's so empowering. Taz, I believe that when women speak to women, when women show up for women, we hear it differently, we receive it differently, and we respond differently. So it's one of my greatest joys is to bring this series and just spotlight these amazing women because they deserve spotlighting. And women sometimes don't cheer for ourselves, right? We just stay so busy. We don't take a moment to cheer for ourselves. And that's what this series does. It is one of my favorite things that I do is to put the spotlight on women who will just keep moving and not spotlight on themselves. So this is a great series that I'm so excited about.
Well, Melissa, I am so glad that you have always championed the women causes. And you're right, when women speak to women, it's different because we know there's a connection there. You have an understanding of where I'm coming from. And that connection, I think, is so needed right now in our world. There's so many different things going on, and the work that women have to do from day to day, it hasn't gotten any easier. Whether you're married or single, whether you got children or you don't have children, there's still so much that's on our shoulders. And to have women be able to share their stories of how they have been able to transition from their thens into their nows, I think that's just a wonderful platform that you have provided. And I know that women are really going to benefit from it. So that kind of leads me, Melissa, into my next question. Um, for women who may be watching or sharing their stories or stepping into leadership like the Women Who Shine, what advice would you give them about owning their voice and then stepping into the spotlight? Because some people, it's hard for them to own their voice and then to step out. What advice would you give them?
I would give them just lean into your heart and be true to yourself. If you're forcing it, let it just happen. I spoke for the first time about my story in 2019. It was not a plan ahead of time, but it happened that day. And what I discovered is it that your story is your story. It doesn't have to be perfect. It don't have to be worded perfectly, but I guarantee you, when you speak it, there is going to be some women sitting there that can relate to every single thing that you heard. And the most powerful thing about just being true to yourself and owning your own voice is at the end of the day, women were coming up to me saying things like, "You just told my story." Because because it is so impactful. Just remember, your story is not just for you, but it's for you to pour into someone else and lift them up. So my biggest advice is to be true to yourself. Don't be hard on yourself either. Give yourself some grace for your story. And for the longest, Dr. Toss, I was ashamed of my story. I was embarrassed of my story. I didn't want to share it. I didn't want others to know. But look at God.
Mm.
My story is to lift someone, another woman up who may be in that place and need to hear from my voice. So
Mm.
your voice, whoever you are who's listening, your voice is who they want to hear. So just be true to yourself. Don't push yourself, but be true to yourself and share the parts that you're ready to share at the time you're ready to share, because there are people assigned to your voice.
Now, Melissa, you done spoke a mouthful there. Share your voice, share your story, be true to your voice, and share it in your way, because there are people who are waiting to hear your story. And and I think that's so powerful, because that goes back to me with the women who shine series so eloquently. We all have a story,
Mhm.
but and we can have the same story. I want people to think about what I'm saying. We can all have the same story, exact same story, but we're going to share it differently.
Mhm.
And it's that difference that then makes the connection for the person who's been waiting to hear that
Absolutely.
story. And
Absolutely.
that is empowering.
Mhm.
Empowering.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Melissa, I want to I want to change the dynamics just a little bit. And of course, remind my audience that this show is brought to them by DQ Consulting, LLC. And, one of the components of DQ Consulting is event planning, which Melissa doesn't know that. But I want to talk about events in a different way. So we done been talking about them traditional events. Now, Melissa, I cannot let us get off without talking about the Dream Party lives that you be having over on Facebook. Melissa, we already talked about Melissa and her pinkness and her jewelry. Now, Melissa, tell us first of all, where did this idea for the dream parties come from? And just how often do you have them so people can be on the lookout?
Okay, so everybody knows I love pearls. I don't show up without them. So you know what we do. We love our signature pearls because you are pearl girls and pearl girls are our heart. Okay, so at first we were doing live shows. We were doing events. We were showing our jewelry that way. And then I worked with a fabulous PR person who casually said, why don't you do them live and create live shopping experiences? I said, no way. Don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. Well, I'm doing it. And I just have to admit, this is an example of stepping out and doing something you're afraid, because I literally was so scared of getting on live with that jewelry that the first time I did it, my stomach was nauseated when the go live button came on. But Todd, it's been such an amazing experience to show the jewelry, talk about the jewelry, and share experiences with women all over the world. So it's been fabulous. And we're returning. We're just returning. We typically do one show a month on Friday night live on Facebook. And it's just so much fun to do. And during the holidays, of course, we do more, but typically we do one a month, and it's usually the last Friday of the month.
Well, guys, we like to shop, and guys is not gender specific right here, because we know there are men who are shopping for their significant others, their siblings. They got to buy them gifts at work, at church, wherever. And we know women, we doing the same thing. We buying for ourselves and everybody we know. So you cannot go wrong. I will say that this was not planned. I do subscribe to Melissa's shopping experience. Sometimes I get in trouble, and this piece right here is part of her collection, and it's a butterfly. And those who know me, I love my butterflies, and it's pearls. So you will have a ball with Melissa. Usually her sister's helping her, and they are just so great together. And let me just say this. They do have sales.
Mm-hmm.
They
We
do
have
have
sales.
sales. So I just say it. If you like jewelry and you like pearls, you might want to tune in. On what Friday is it again, Melissa?
It's normally the last Friday of the month. We do some specials along the way, but it's usually the last Friday of the month.
All right, you guys, you heard it here. Melissa, I have enjoyed our time together today. It has gone really just too quickly. Please tell the audience how they can stay in contact with you because they may want jewelry, they may want some information about event planning, they may want to be a part of the Women Who Shine series and all the other things that you do to empower women. They may want some a media kit. How can they stay in contact with you?
Well, Dr. Taj, this has been so amazing. And just so your audience know, you're one of those women that we're spotlighting in our Women to Shine series. So be sure to check out our Dr. Taj and her amazing journey. To stay connected with me and all that we do, when the Dream Potters happen, our social media links, you can even listen to some shows on there where women are sharing their stories. You can get it all right at themelissabanks.com. And all the links are right there. That's themelissabanks.com.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa Banks, for being back on Talk with Taz. It is always so wonderful to have you on. And I'm so proud of all that you have accomplished and all that you still are accomplishing. And I say to you, continue your mission to empower women. We need to hear your voice, and we need the voices that you're sharing with the world.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And to my audience, you know the drill. Before you go trying to take care of someone else, please make sure you take care of yourself first. Bye now.